Snowflakes fall endlessly as our MC stares up at the icy sky. The guard quickly confirms over the radio that the secretary's identity has been verified. With a loud creak, the massive, heavy metal gate begins to open, marking the entrance to the dangerous northern conflict zone of Tier 1. Walking alone through the frozen wasteland, the boy continues his mission. He quickly checks his holographic phone to make sure he's on the right path. Seeing the coordinates point straight ahead, he puts the device away. Without wasting a second, he bends his knees, building up momentum, and leaps, soaring through the skies using the superhuman abilities of the Awakened. He recalls the catastrophic event when monsters poured out of dungeons, destroying everything, pushing civilization to the very brink of total extinction. But thanks to the Awakened, humanity slowly began to rebuild, culminating in the gigantic final battle in the city of Incheon, where one of the 5 Great War heroes finally emerged, laying down the law, bringing a peace that has lasted for 29 years and is now recorded in the history books. Arriving in the snow, he searches for the isolated hero, far from the public eye. He's expecting to find some 80-year-old geezer who looks like a mountain hermit. He lands hard on the frozen ground, kicking up a cloud of white dust. Suddenly, he senses a sinister presence nearby. Skidding to a halt in the snow, he braces for the worst, and comes face to face with a bizarre monster with the body of an ostrich and the head of a duck. With his eyes fixed on the cute but deadly creature, our secretary freezes, breaking into a cold sweat. He remembers this thing can run at 100 kilometers per hour. Even worse, he knows this pest never travels alone, and soon the whole flock appears. Clenching his fists with magical aura, he finds himself up against A-ranked disaster monsters. Ear-splitting shrieks come from the ducks, baring their sharp teeth. Realizing he's totally outmatched, the kid is sure he's about to kick the bucket if he tries to fight. Then the herd charges forward, making the ground tremble. In sheer desperation, our little MC runs for his life, wondering how anyone could possibly live out here, until a giant shadow crosses the sky, catching his attention. He sees an A-rank thunderbird rip through the sky and swallow the duck's whole. Terrified, the kid keeps running, not understanding why there are so many OP monsters here. He soon spots a wooden cabin in the middle of nowhere and sees his chance. Leaping over the fence with all his might to hide from the carnage, he slides into the yard, safe by a hair's breadth, but the giant bird dives straight for him, letting off sparks, revealing terrifying, glowing claws and eyes that scream certain doom. Cowering on the ground, our little MC accepts that his time has come. But a mysterious voice yells that it's not food, and the beast instantly becomes tame. Surprised to hear a human, the secretary slowly opens his eyes. He sees a guy in shorts holding a broom, telling the bird to let go of its prey. The bird immediately obeys and drops the young man from a considerable height. He lands face first in the cold snow with a dull thud, totally in shock to see a ferocious monster obey a human's command. The mysterious guy sweeping snow asks if he's the new secretary. On the ground and trembling, the boy stammers, asking who this guy is. Calmly, the man tells the flock of ducks to clear off too. Without a second thought, the bizarre monsters retreat in fear. Trying to catch his breath, the secretary props himself up on the snow. With his own eyes, he watches the dangerous creatures march away. He even notices the creatures have formed a perfect military-style line. With a sigh, the guy with the broom grumbles that he'd already told them to stop visiting. Connecting the dots, the MC hesitantly asks if he's that legend, saying the name Choi Kang-ho out loud. With his back turned, the man just tells the kid to come inside and get something to eat. Absolutely floored, our boy notices the 80-year-old hero looks like he's still in his prime. Images of the legendary Beast King saving the world flash through his mind. Desperate for the master to wait, he scrambles to his feet. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere in the warm kitchen is much calmer. Looking around, the secretary finds the place empty and almost too minimalist. Confused by the master's absurd youthfulness, the boy watches the stove, playing with magic fire straight from his hand. The hero says he's doing great for his age. According to him, the other veterans got old and became big shots, but his body simply stopped aging. Out of nowhere, a thunderbird chick lands on a giant egg on the counter. Super tense, the secretary agrees he looks young but points and asks what that creature is. The master lovingly holds the little egg, saying the bird is just too cute. Forcing a strained smile, the MC doesn't have the heart to disagree. He also remembers that the Beast Master ability forces any monster to bow, just like the creature serving juice at the table. Making a point to note that the legend continues to raise magical beasts, just as he did during the war. Memories of his former rank mythical wolf partner surface instantly. With a startling crack, the hero slams a plate on the table with brutal force. He immediately shuts the topic down, warning him not to bring it up again, and tells the kid to get to the point of his visit. Quick on the draw, the secretary apologizes and reveals they have a serious problem. Pulling up a red hologram, he shows that new species have been popping up everywhere, and they need help urgently. Analyzing the data seriously, the hero recognizes an unprecedented threat since the Great War and demands all the details. Back outside, the MC gives a respectful bow, sincerely apologizing for his earlier lack of manners, but Curious, he asks why the legend lives completely isolated in the middle of nowhere. With a calm smile, the master replies that he's waiting for something. Not understanding, the boy asks what it could be, but a sinister shadow appears right behind him. In the blink of an eye, a giant beast pounces on the secretary's back, revealing itself to be a terrifying S-rank saber-toothed tiger ready to attack. Calmly, the hero says the night is dangerous, so the feline will serve as his escort. With that, the beast tears off through the snow, carrying the kid in its mouth like a rag doll. Finally at peace, the veteran stretches his body, thankful the visit is over. Shortly after, he returns to the kitchen to wash the dinner dishes. He also serves food to his bizarre pets in the corner of the room. Early in the morning, he grabs the broom to clear the snow that never stops falling. Then he takes the opportunity to play with the giant tiger, throwing ice everywhere. Petting the big monster, he affectionately calls him by the name Mungshi. Suspiciously, the hero asks if the tiger didn't just dump the boy somewhere. The feline immediately lets out a guilty whimper, confirming his suspicion. Far away, the secretary is lying face down on the ground near the border's military base. Completely traumatized, he wakes up asking the soldiers if he was brought there by a colossal tiger. The guard just laughs, telling him everyone freaks out their first time, adding that the team there is more than used to the legend's eccentricities. Back at the cabin, the master firmly grips his staff. He quickly mounts the furry back of the enormous flying feline, cowling his partner for another daily patrol in the mountains. Leaping across the snowy peaks, the duo cuts through the cold morning wind, bringing back memories from 49 years ago, after the day of the disaster, when monsters infested everything, creating a bizarre ecosystem in the Tier 1 region. Landing on an isolated peak, the hero remembers that it was in these lands that everything began. Walking slowly, he recalls the exact day he met his partner. Fixing his gaze on a mysterious light in the snow, he notices the egg is slowly growing. Staring at the giant, glowing rock at the top of the mountain, the master reflects on the past, pulling up the memory of the gigantic battle from 29 years ago, where an endless horde of monstrous beasts marched to destroy the city. Showing a much younger hero with a cold, completely focused look. Surrounded by enemies, he channels an absurd amount of magical energy into his right hand, firing a blast of blue lightning that instantly disintegrates the monsters, tearing through the battlefield with perfect, lethal cuts using pure magic. At that moment, he activates the sensory link with his contracted beast, calling out her name. A colossal foxpaw comes crashing down, smashing the ruined buildings, and completely turning the tide of the battle. Descending from the sky, the gigantic mythical fox annihilates the enemy army with a pillar of light. Imposing, the master stands beside his legendary partner, who is covered in electricity, gently touching her silver fur to strengthen their spiritual connection, giving the final order to charge the rest of the troops with everything they've got. Together, they dominated the war, with the blinding light of the magical beast clearing the way, bringing a crushing victory and saving the entire world from complete annihilation. Unfortunately, the victory came at a high price, and the legendary fox collapsed on the ravaged battlefield. Breathing with extreme difficulty, the bloodied beast takes her last breaths. In tears, the young hero apologizes, telling her she was simply incredible. Slowly, his war partner's eyes close forever. Seconds later, a thunderous column of light erupts from the creature's body, transforming the giant carcass into magical particles flying through the air. Completely in shock, the young man watches the farewell, powerless to do anything more, leaving behind only a shining crystal egg in the middle of the stained snow. Back in the present, the veteran sits on the icy peak, having stood guard for years. Talking to himself, he says he's watching over the stone in case she decides to wake up for the new year. Just then, a small magic fairy lands delicately on his giant hand. Surprised, he asks if the little creatures from the portal came to celebrate the new year with him. Looking at the digital watch on his wrist, he checks the final seconds before midnight. Smiling at the sky illuminated by the fairies, the hero relaxes, leaning against his feline. With only 2 seconds left on the display, the entire mountain's atmosphere changes. Suddenly, the giant crystal flickers, emitting an absolutely blinding light. Startled, the master's eyes widen, not understanding the sudden reaction. At the very last second, the egg vibrates with uncontrollable magical energy. At midnight sharp, a beam of light tears through the clouds with a deafening noise. Shielding his face from the brightness, the hero falls backward onto the thick ice, confirming exactly 50 years have passed since the portals first opened, 30 years on the dot since the end of the chaos and global bloodshed. In front of him appears a small, adorable white fox identical to the partner he lost, on the very same snowfield where their original meeting had taken place. Remembering when the hero was just a recruit on patrol, running for his life, fleeing desperately from a pack of mutant wolves and furious dragons. Stopping abruptly, he freezes, holding a fluffy cub against his uniform's chest. Perplexed in the midst of the apocalypse, he feels an immediate and deep connection. Even surrounded by imminent demise, the purity of that beast marked him as a work of pure destiny. Now in the present, the legend smiles, moved, knowing his friend's daughter has finally awakened. Landing lightly in the snow, The little fox shakes her white fur. Smiling, the veteran crouches down, looking into the beast's large blue eyes. The cub immediately licks the new master's face affectionately. Completely melted, he asks if that's her way of saying hi. Pinching the fox's cute cheek, the hero returns the greeting, noting with a bit of nostalgia how much she looks like his old partner. Suddenly, a sharp screech cuts through the skies, and dozens of winged beasts appear. Without wasting time, the protagonist activates his beast's eye, analyzing the dragon-type monsters. Confused, he realizes he hasn't seen species with such bizarre rarity since the Great War. He soon remembers the hologram and the warning about the explosion of new pests in the south of the country. With the fox sleeping in his lap, he wonders if this pile of coincidences has any meaning. The next morning, he once again mounts his tiger partner for a special ride. Crossing the skies, they leave the mountains for the enormous buildings of Gangnam in Seoul, descending silently onto the giant rooftop of Korea's largest mercenary guild. Arriving in style, the two heroes land, illuminated by the city lights. Down on the terrace, a guard trembles from head to toe upon seeing the giant shadow. He screams desperately into the radio, calling for backup to contain a demonic beast on the building. Startled, the head of security grabs the rookie's shoulder, asking if he's lost his mind, immediately reminding the recruit of the golden rule from the guild's emergency manual, where it clearly states that if a young man is riding a saber-toothed tiger, he's a top-tier VP. Fumbling, the guard types the door password, while the giant feline huffs behind him. Calm as always, the master tells the big beast to stop scaring the poor guy. Leaving the tiger waiting outside, he thanks the traumatized employee. Entering through the luxurious door, he sighs, commenting that it's been a while. Walking down the dark corridor towards the office of the entire organization's leader, passing a picture on the wall showing an old photo of the two of them together in the war. Pondering how much things have changed, he finally pushes open the office door and comes face to face with the King of Iron Fists, calmly smoking a cigar. Without warning, the big guy runs, shouting his old friend's name, and tries to give him a crushing hug. But our hero dodges at the last second, letting the muscle-bound man slam face first into the door. Annoyed, the man in the suit complains that they're 80 years old and need a lot to drink to celebrate. Retorting with a smirk, the master says if he's that old, he should take care of his own health first. In the midst of the confusion, the little fox pokes her head out of his jacket, yawning. Confused, the King of Fists analyzes the white beast and notices something extremely familiar. His eyes widening in absolute shock, he asks if that cub came from the crystal egg. Calmly, the protagonist confirms and says he gave the little one the same name as her mother. The friend immediately laughs at the master's doting expression, saying he only came to show off his new kid. Excited, he suggests they get started with the best drinks he has in the office. Clinking their glasses, the two veterans get wasted amidst nostalgic laughter. A while later, the hero decides to get straight to the point about the reason for his visit, showing the same holographic photos of monsters the secretary had revealed earlier. Instantly, the king's expression shifts to maximum tension as he confesses it's been a headache, pulling up the file of an elite A-rank mercenary who simply vanished in the south, explaining that the appearance of these beasts is directly linked to his disappearance. Even worse is the detail that most of these abominations exude a heavy, dark energy. Taking a sip of whiskey, the MC speaks seriously about demonic energy, reflecting that all the apocalyptic beasts from the old war possess this dark power, which triggers killing instincts and increases ferocity in a terrifying and uncontrollable way. He also remembers the Supreme Majin who generated all this chaos at the center of the disaster. Slamming his glass on the table, the king warns that in the worst-case scenario, that devil could return. Changing the subject, the big guy shows off, saying he climbed to 14th in the world rankings. Sarcastically, the master replies that he's doing pretty good for a washed-up old-timer. Ignoring the jab, his friend pushes a technological ring towards his colleague to measure his own power. Rejecting it immediately, the veteran says it's too much trouble, and he doesn't even know how to use that new toy. Blackmailing the MC, the king warns he'll only give him his birthday present if he takes the test. Won over by curiosity, the beast tamer reluctantly sticks his arm into the scanner. Instantly, the machine emits rays, reading the user as a beast master with brutal power, spitting out an insane number that places him first in the rankings for Korea and the entire world. In pure shock, the mercenary yells, asking what the heck the old man has been doing in the middle of nowhere. Shrugging, the best hunter on earth replies that he just did some weeding and took care of his tiger, Mungchi. Utterly defeated, the king sighs, asking if the secret to success in later life is to become a farmer. Afterward, the master returns from his trip and appears directly in the orchard dungeon near his cabin, a place infested with fairies and small earth monsters that accelerate the growth of magical plants. Taking a gigantic, glowing fairy stone from his pocket, he presents the gift he received from his friend. Burying the gem in the frozen ground, the fairies immediately get to work, clapping their hands. A massive pillar of pure, greenish energy explodes straight into the heavens, covering the grove. Satisfied with the blessing on the place, the veteran and the little fox admire the light show. The magical fruits on the trees quickly shine brighter, gaining absurd strength, while the small earth sprites practically double in size in a fraction of a second. Startled by the explosion of magic, the little fox leaps from her owner's hands to the ground. Absolutely ecstatic, she jumps among the fairies, glowing intensely as she plays. Seeing the strange power, the MC activates his magic eye to analyze his own pet status. His eyes widen as he discovers the mythical creature's information shows only question marks, noting that it's a mysterious subspecies capable of challenging all the knowledge he ever had. At that moment, the small, fluffy beast turns her head, focusing all her attention on something mysterious in the snow. Suddenly, the master notices a strange noise coming from the bushes. In the blink of an eye, a white blur flies past him. Startled, he shouts the little fox's name. Too fast, the cub tears through the snow with impressive agility. For a brief second, the hero is paralyzed, trying to understand the situation. He soon deduces that his pet must have sensed some dangerous threat. Confirming his suspicion, he decides to join the race. With a firm stomp on the frozen ground, he accumulates magical energy in his feet, shooting off like a true rocket in the same direction. In a few moments, he catches up to the little fox, running side by side. Panting, the little beast maintains total focus on her target. She's almost floating, moving so fast. Smiling, the veteran is impressed by the creature's absurd speed. Together, they cross the snowy forest in a fierce charge, until the fox makes an aggressive leap, ready to pounce. Suddenly, the MC's eyes widen, shocked by the bizarre scene. Just ahead, a group of fairies is cornered by dark monsters. Without hesitation, the little fox jumps right into the danger to protect the creatures. In a cue effort, the little one tries to roar with all her might. Furious screeches answer the new enemy's provocation. In the background, the earth fairies cry, terrified by the ambush. Confused by the situation, the master finds it strange that the fox ran just for them. Just then, a colossal giant snake erupts from the snow, startling everyone. Worried, the hero knows an A-rank disaster is too much for a baby to handle. With a hiss, the serpent shows its venomous fangs, ready to devour the little fox in a single bite. Immediately, the MC snaps his fingers, signaling that playtime is over. Seized by fear, the snake instinctively freezes and backs away. At that moment, the tamer releases his aura of absolute predatory instinct. A crushing dark pressure takes over the entire area. With his hand outstretched and eyes glowing with pure rage, the hero easily grabs the snake's head, threatening to make Snake whine out of it. Totally in awe, the fairies admire their savior's raw strength. Mercilessly, the master squeezes the monster, demanding to know what's going on. He then tells the rest of the ugly horde to get lost. Overjoyed, the forest creatures celebrate the immediate relief. But out of nowhere, a bizarre creature resembling a black rooster appears. He focuses directly on the new enemy's red, murderous eyes. Alert, the fox turns her head, sensing the danger in the air. Deadly serious, the veteran recognizes the rotten smell of demonic energy. Through the system, he confirms it's a weak raptor, but corrupted by darkness. With blood in her eyes, the baby fox attacks the bird without a second thought. Too agile, she jukes the ugly bird, toying with her prey. The hero quickly concludes it's a new species affected by the darkness, strongly suspecting it came from some newly formed portal. Thinking out loud, he considers the real chance of it being an ancient demon. In a solid leap, he lands in the middle of the battlefield. Before him, the cub begins to emit a powerful magical glow. Shocked by the system's notification, he notices his pet has gained an extra tail and a combat skill. To make matters worse, 3 new demonic raptors emerge from the shadows. Super excited, the beast looks at her owner, asking for permission to play. With a nostalgic smile, he sees his old partner perfectly reflected in her. Memories of their hard training in the past flood his mind, recalling how they grew strong facing hell together. Unfortunately, that same life of battles led the legend to a tragic end. Sincerely, the MC confesses he wanted to raise the cub in peace, without wars. However, he quickly notes that the fox simply loves to throw down. Deciding not to be selfish, he accepts the little one's nature and proposes an official contract, almost touching the small magical animal's glowing forehead, swearing he will train her to be the absolute best in the world. A massive explosion of blue energy seals the deal between them. Reacting to the insane power, the fox's eyes sparkle like diamonds. In the air, a perfect magic circle forms, symbolizing their union. All this mystical light converges directly into the master's hand. Out of nowhere, a contract ring materializes on his finger. Admiring the jewel, the veteran says he'll share a little mana, giving the rookie free rein to fight until she can't anymore. Like a missile, the small beast cuts through the air towards the evil birds. One of the monsters screeches furiously, trying to counter the frontal assault. Her eyes are locked on the pet, who doesn't back down a single millimeter. Strategically, the tamer activates sensory transfer, connecting their minds. On impact, the fox collides head-on with the giant bird with a sonic boom. Telepathically, the hero guides his partner, telling her to hold back her excitement. asking the little fox for patience to delay her attack for just one more second, until he shouts the perfect order at the exact moment for the fatal blow. Screaming with fury, the little fox lunges forward like a true bolt of light. With a lethal stomp, she smashes the demonic rooster's head straight into the frozen ground. Dark blood splatters as the evil bird is thrown with brutal force. Immediately, the system announces that the little beast has absorbed the dark energy of the defeated enemy. Startled, the other monsters retreat in the face of the cub's terrifying brutality. Giving no quarter, the pet fixes her large blue eyes on the next prey. Dashing across the battlefield, she cuts through the air, decimating the rest of the flock in the blink of an eye. Sharp cries echo through the forest as the corrupted birds fall one by one. Dancing in the air, the beast dodges attacks with absurd ease. Shortly after, she finishes off 2 more opponents with relentless electric strikes. Watching from a distance, the master smiles, completely amazed by the rookie's talent. Noting that for a first real fight, the baby's movements are already razor sharp. The last rooster screams in desperation before being completely pulverized. Panting but victorious, the little one lets out a cute sigh after the carnage. Just then, the holographic screen flashes, revealing her species is of the mythical white fang lineage. With the battle over, the fox shakes her shiny fur in relief. Calling his partner back, the MC comments on how kids grow up absurdly fast. In a precise leap, she jumps straight into her owner's welcoming arms. Expecting lots of praise, the baby fox smiles, proud of her own massacre. Petting her head, the veteran agrees that her performance was wonderful. Now he suggests they head home quickly before the dark portal closes. Nearby, the purple energy continues to leak menacingly from the crack. Suddenly, the hero senses a strange presence and turns his head, startled, noticing there's still a pair of demonic roosters hiding in the shadows. But he quickly realizes they have no evil energy and are just cowering in fear of the little fox. Telling the birds to flee, the tamer clears the path for the harmless forest monsters. Free from danger, the 2 creatures run desperately into the thick woods. But the black hole in the sky suddenly begins to pulse uncontrollably, sucking everything around it into a violent whirlwind of wind and magical snow. Realizing the trap, our hero bends his knees, ready to act. Dozens of tiny hands rise to the heavens, celebrating the savior's return. Confused by the shouting, the master raises an eyebrow, not understanding a thing. Kneeling in the snow, the fairies give thanks through tears, calling the boy the Absolute One. Totally lost, the hero points to his own chest, questioning the exaggerated title. Nodding their heads, the little creatures run towards the pair to revere them up close. Awkwardly, the MC freezes, paralyzed by the sudden flood of adoration. Curious, he soon asks how these fairies can speak the human language so perfectly. However, he quickly dismisses it to focus on the strange nicknames, Absolute One and White Fang. The excited blonde leader of the fairies explains that's the name of the little white fox's species, telling him that in their world, this lineage has been revered as a guardian deity since ancient times. Remembering his old partner, the veteran knows these beasts are incredibly gentle and powerful. Enchanted by the pet, the fairies look at her as if she were a true living legend descended from the heavens. For the simple fact of taming this divine beast, they conclude the young man can only be the supreme god himself. Trying to process the madness, the hero finds this flock's behavior peculiar, to say the least. Looking closely, he notices the blonde fairy wears a different crown and seems to be someone very important there. Getting straight to the point, the master asks if the shiny little girl is part of the clan's royalty. Startled by his perceptiveness, the little fairy jumps back, trembling. Stammering, she confirms that you can't hide anything from the supreme being and reveals herself to be Johanna, the 4th princess. Sighing, the hero admits he didn't read anyone's mind and just deduced it from the flashy crown on her head. Sadly, the little one reports that their flock's territory was suddenly turned into a deadly dungeon. Sucked through a purple portal, they fell into that cold and completely unknown world. Whimpering, she says it's been 3 days since the monsters attacked and stole the fairies home. To sum it up, the boy concludes the group is homeless and starving in the middle of the ice. At that exact moment, the princess's stomach growls loudly, giving away the royalty's desperate situation. Calmly, the veteran says there's an orchard dungeon focused on earth spirits right nearby. Offering shelter, he says the whole flock can live there if they want to escape the cold. The crowd of fairies immediately explodes into tears and deafening shouts of praise to their savior god. Trying to calm the crowd, the MC desperately asks them to stop bowing on the hard snow. Observing the bizarre scene, he grumbles that this princess acts more like a submissive maid. Suddenly, an icy gust of wind cuts through the scene, catching everyone's attention. Heavy footsteps make the ground tremble as something huge approaches at an insane speed. Alert, the fairy princess turns her head, sensing an instinct of imminent danger in the air. Breaking through the snowstorm, the colossal saber-toothed tiger emerges, roaring fiercely. Terrified by the S-rank predator, the fairies scream in total panic, thinking they're about to become a snack. Crying in sheer terror, the clan leader tries to flee the menacing beast at all costs. Laughing heartily, the tamer finds the whole confusion absolutely hilarious. Grabbing the big monster's furry neck, he tells his feline partner to behave around the new visitors. In the midst of all this chaos, the boy's phone vibrates nonstop in his pocket. Pulling out the modern device, he's startled by the sudden flood of notifications on the screen. He soon sees he's been added to a group chat by the King of Iron Fists, along with the other veteran heroes. Reading the conversations, the MC is absolutely certain this was his meddling, brutish friend's idea. He perfectly remembers the moment the giant grabbed his smartphone to snoop while they were drinking in the office. On that occasion, the old fighter thought the modern technology of these new communicators was the coolest thing. Returning to the app, the master reads the other old-timer heroes already fighting and threatening each other in the group chat. Smiling with nostalgia, he realizes his old comrades are still the same stressed out troublemakers from the war era. Memories of the Great War flood the master's mind as he remembers his old friends fighting. Back then, his alliance with the mythical fox formed the group of the 5 great world heroes. With a nostalgic smile, the MC decides it's high time to reunite with this tough crew. Petting the small pet, he says he needs to prepare the best possible training to make her invincible. He quickly pulls out his phone and sends a short message in the group, confirming he's back in the game. Soon, a gigantic crowd gathers at the famous Bukansan Mountain for a historic event. Cameras and reporters broadcast everything live from the scene of the impending clash. Completely euphoric, the public screams, awaiting the battle between 2 legendary heroes fighting for the top of the rankings. Shouts of excitement tear through the skies as the crowd pushes to see the spectacle. Atop the rocky peak, the sword god appears imposingly, displaying his coveted world rank of number 20. Maintaining a sharp posture, the old swordsman stares down his rival without blinking. Right in front of him, the bow god prepares, proudly showing off his rank of 21. With blood in his eyes, the veteran archer shows he didn't come here to waste time. Pushing through the crowd, a mysterious woman with red hair asks to get through. Revealing herself as the Witch of Flames, she enters the arena, stealing the show and everyone's attention. The fans immediately go wild, screaming the fire sorceress's name at the top of their lungs. Ignoring the crowd, the swordsman warns there will be no regrets when the blade sings. Taunting back, the old archer tells his rival to shut up and get ready for a historic beatdown. Filled with anger, the sword user shoots a death glare at his enemy. Without delay, he draws his sharp blade, ready to cut the archer in half. With agility, the archer also readies his magic bow, laughing in his opponent's face. Letting out a long sigh, the redhead comments that this stubborn duo's old habits just don't change. Taking on the role of referee, she officiates the crazy combat as an authentic ranking match. Suddenly, a figure cuts through the sky, falling at high speed right into the center of the arena. Startled, the entire audience looks up to see who the suicidal maniac is. A thunderous impact shatters the ground as our MC lands with the little fox, kicking up magical dust. Stepping firmly and stylishly, he calmly stands up, leaving the audience speechless. Whispers and murmurs spread through the stands at this bizarre and triumphal entrance. Taking charge, the red-headed referee smiles and informs the old-timers that today's fight is cancelled. Completely indignant, the 2 veterans yell in unison, asking what kind of joke this is in the middle of their sacred duel. Pointing to the center of the crater, she announces that the most anticipated living legend has just arrived. Seething with shock, the swordsman is absolutely paralyzed by the sight. Stammering uncontrollably, the archer blurts out his old friend's name, not believing his own eyes. Very calmly, the Beastmaster waves to the crowd as if he's on a walk in the park. Atop his head, the little fox also looks at the audience with cute curiosity. Annoyed but happy, the man in charge curses his long-lost friend and asks what that white furball is. Dodging the question, the MC tells his pet they're going to fill their bellies and do some luxury shopping with the rich folks. Utterly confused, the furry partner lets out a little noise, not understanding a single thing about what a mall is. Later, the whole group gathers in the giant pavilion of the Sword Clan. Built near the mountain, the luxurious guild serves to train the Sword Master's successors. Straight to the personal medicinal herb warehouse, the tamer begins to clean out the shelves. Rummaging through the stock, he finds the extremely rare moon herb, perfect for elite magical monsters. Without a shred of pity, the veteran hands the expensive plant to the cub to devour whole. Smiling, the swordsman notes the resemblance to the old guardian beast and tells his friend to take whatever he wants. Laughing heartily, the archer companion encourages the MC to clear out the entire stock before the owner changes his mind and starts crying. Annoyed by the teasing, the owner of the herbs tells the archer to shut up and not test his patience. Seconds later, he changes his tone and asks the tamer to visit the base more often to chat. Very satisfied with the free haul, the MC guarantees he'll be back whenever he needs free food. Taking advantage of the friendly atmosphere, the archer already brings the drinks to start the 15-year reunion party. The table is quickly loaded with prime meat and litters of soju for the veterans' drinking session. Raising his full glass, the archer declares they need to drink all the alcohol they missed over these lost years. Breaking into a cold sweat, the Beastmaster internally thinks about how much his old companions have aged in such a short time. Excited and stressed, the old-timers force the MC to chug his drink, with no option to refuse. The next day, the sun beats down on the enormous facade of the coveted Bank of Seoul. Walking with determined steps, the boy enters the giant lobby to handle his financial business. The manager in a suit immediately bows excessively upon receiving the special client. Asking the man to stop the embarrassing flattery, the hero says he needs to withdraw mana stones. Through their mental link, the little fox curiously asks what these so-called magic stones are. Full of charm, the manager informs him that the secret vault room is already open and ready for the withdrawal. Outside on the bustling street, a suspicious character on a motorcycle watches the whole scene with pure malice. With high-tech sunglasses, the biker focuses his hunter's vision on the millionaire target leaving the agency. At the building's entrance, the team of managers continues to bow nonstop to the MC, who walks with the fox. Laughing at the pathetic scene, the bandit decides to test his robbing equipment to see if the victim is worth the effort. Clicking a side button, he activates the magic stone tracking radar built into the lens. Scanning a random businessman, the display shows only cheap C and D rank stones. Frustrated by the poverty, the robber grumbles that these people in suits are all show and no real cash. Turning his head, the bandit's lens aims and locks directly onto our MC's body. The screen immediately beeps red, showing absurdly high-level stones in the kid's pockets. Nearly falling off his bike, the thief's eyes widen as he calculates a fortune of almost 2 billion in cash, just sitting there. Suspicious of so much wealth, he activates the mana meter, thinking the target might be a dangerous hunter. To the criminal's utter surprise, the radar shows 0 magical energy, classifying the boy as a worthless, non-awakened human. Completely distracted, the hero enters a dark, empty alley on his way to his next destination. With a wicked grin spreading across his face, the biker thinks he's found the biggest winning lottery ticket of his life. Over his radio communicator, he calls his gang leader, confirming that the big prize is completely unprotected. Far away, the protagonist walks in complete peace, eating skewers with the fox, heading towards the dangerous stone market. Starting the noisy motorcycle engine, the bandit confirms with his team that he will follow the target to the end. Far away in the heart of the black market, neon lights illuminate the dangerous 12th Street. Walking calmly through the narrow alley, the MC soon finds an old, hidden door. Inside the clandestine shop, a woman with beast ears greets the illustrious client, joking that it's been 15 years since his last visit. Her voice full of sarcasm, she comments that his old mount must have become a giant, terrifying monster by now. Her feline gaze quickly locks onto the small white furball on the client's head. Curious, the attendant soon deduces that the little fox is a direct descendant of the original, deceased White Fang. Totally in shock, the she-wolf mutters that she's lived for over 100 years and had never seen a mythical subspecies up close. Full of excitement, she swears on her life that the master will raise the most lethal beast of all time. Laughing at the exaggerated euphoria, the boy strokes his partner and changes the subject to business. On the bustling market streets, the nightlife pulses in the scene set up by the survivors of the disaster day. Observing the different scene, the little fox tilts her head, telepathically asking who those strange people are. Smiling, the hero explains that the place is dominated by the mutant races that came from the other world through the dark portals. Information he knows well, as one of the legends who saved Earth, the Witch of Flames, is part of this same race. Explaining that her people have a much longer lifespan, which is why they all remain young even after 5 decades. Pointing to a giant furnace spewing fire into the sky, the tamer explains that's the district of the dwarven blacksmiths. A bearded dwarf with thick arms immediately shouts boisterously upon seeing the famous client approach the anvil. After a tight bear hug, the shop owner asks if the hero managed to buy the absurd stones he was looking for. Pounding his heavy hammer nonstop, the blacksmith complains that the market is chaotic and full of urgent orders from the rich guilds. Calmly, the boy raises his hand and asks for a small personal favor from his hardworking friend. The dwarf's eyes widen, and he nearly drops the hammer on his foot upon recognizing the extremely rare aura blade on the master's bracelet. Explaining the urgency, the hero says this is the first time in 15 long years he has decided to use that weapon again. With a guttural laugh that makes the ceiling shake, the blacksmith guarantees that any request from the master has top priority. He orders all the other dwarves in the workshop to drop their work for the suits and focus only on the legend's special request. Very grateful for the team's effort, the MC waits calmly and praises the blacksmith's same tireless determination. Handing over the brand new jewel, the dwarf can't hold his tongue and asks out of curiosity what the client bought that was so expensive on the street earlier, listing a series of items nearly impossible to find, each costing an absurd fortune. Outside in the dark, dirty alley, the gang of criminal bikers surrounds the place, preparing a fatal ambush. Oblivious to this, the hero observes the pure, impeccable shine of the magic bracelet after the dwarf's careful maintenance. Proud of his work, the blacksmith suggests a quick test for the boy to feel the renewed mana control of the lethal weapon. Rejecting the offer in a cold, calculated tone, the hero adjusts the bracelet on his wrist with blind confidence. Waving goodbye to his blacksmith friend, he walks towards the darkest alley in the district without showing any fear. In the shadows, a motorcycle engine roars to life, cutting through the funereal silence of the deserted, filthy street. Surrounding the defenseless target, the shadows begin to move quickly from the tight sides of the abandoned area. Drawing brutal knives and clubs, the thugs emerge from the woodwork and corner the MC, celebrating their easy prize in advance. With his arms crossed, the boy simply ignores the lethal encirclement and asks aloud if everyone is out of hiding yet. Amused by the target's bravado, the gang leader tells him to stop bluffing, as they know he's just an ordinary human with no magic. The beast tamer immediately throws out a bluff, accusing the leader of using those shoddy, counterfeit mana stone trackers. Mockingly, the hero asks if his little gadget completely broke or if it just maxed out at a pathetic 100,000 power points. Caught completely off guard, the bandit gulps, not understanding how the nobody guessed the information so perfectly. Nervously, the thug tries to be rational, shouting that only 3 monsters in the entire country come close to that insane combat power. His face hardening and ignoring the cheap shouting, the master activates a lethal glow in his hands, calling out the ability, Aura Blade. He concentrates a monumental amount of killing magic in his right palm. A luminous, cutting blue explosion rips through the alley's darkness, revealing the terrifying power being generated from nothing. The crushing pressure immediately knocks the rest of the gang to the ground, paralyzing all the robbers' muscles. Agonized screams echo as half the gang is simply thrown against the alley's dirty walls by the aura. Smoke and dust rise from the destructive impact, leaving the bandits completely knocked out before the fight even begins. Trembling from head to toe, the leader stands gaping, watching his best men fall to the hard ground like flies. Walking slowly through the smoke, the figure illuminated by the blue sword advances, ready for a cold takedown. Adjusting the glasses slipping down his nose, wet with cold sweat, the leader refuses to believe the colossal measurement error. Mentally, he can't accept that besides his guild's president, there's another monster in the world with immeasurable magic roaming the streets. Taking 2 steps back on wobbly legs, the criminal begs to know the name of the demon he just tried to rob. Simply raising his glowing hand a little higher, the hero extends his fingers, conducting the interrogation himself, relentlessly. Checking the bandit's information on his phone with his other hand, the MC does a super, quick analysis of the target, paralyzed with terror. The screen displays the exact profile, revealing that the weeping leader was a former executive of the famous Night Guild, and has now become a wanted criminal. Disappointed by his fall from grace, the boy notes the long list of robberies, kidnappings, and even death staining the ex-hero's name. With no other options, the robber decides he won't fight an invincible demon, so he turns his back and runs like a coward down the alley. Activating his innate assassin-type ability, a dark purple light covers his body, boosting his muscles to attempt an escape. In a zigzag pattern, he scales the walls of the narrow, dirty building, jumping frantically from window to window, trying to shake his relentless pursuer. Glancing quickly over his shoulder, he lets out a forced laugh, thinking no one can follow the bizarre escape route he's creating in the air. But mid-flight, the tamer's dark shadow covers the light and appears upside down, right in the terrified enemy's face. A clean, violent punch explodes into the assassin's stomach, knocking all the wind out of the victim in a single, painful, and swift moment. Like an out-of-control meteor, the gang leader's body plummets violently from the air, shattering the grimy asphalt of the rotten alley. Spitting blood, the ex-executive complains of the unbearable pain from his crushed ribs, unable to comprehend the uncatalogued attacker's surreal speed. Gritting his teeth, he rises from the smoke, rubble, and debris, ready to fight back and seriously fight for his life. The bandit's furious screams echo off the crumbling walls, challenging the tamer to show himself in the dark for a brawl. In a low voice, almost at his neck, the living legend coldly informs him that he's right behind his unprotected back. Too surprised to react in time, the thief desperately tries to draw a hidden knife while turning his body at maximum speed. Mocking the act, the boy swings his arm in an arc, hitting the leader's hand dead on. A clean slice shatters the bandit's entire weapon, sending harmless shards flying to every dirty corner of the floor and thick walls. With his legs trembling with weakness after the destructive attack, the assassin leader falls to his knees among his own rubble, defeated and paralyzed. With his knee on the gravel, the tough guy trembles, feeling the crushing power of the fear of death fill his empty, desperate head. Satisfied, the hero mentally praises his blacksmith friend's impeccable work, feeling the 0 mana cost of the lethal strikes he just delivered. On the dirt and dust, one of the cowardly thugs slowly wakes up, complaining about the absurd beating while trying to move without passing out from the pain of the purple, bleeding wounds all over his sprawled out body. Observing everything in the dark, The veteran coldly assesses the fallen weaklings with boredom, before concluding that their work is just bad training. Staring at the corrupted ex-hero, the MC dryly asks the reason for this criminal life after they survived the hellish war years ago. Trying to get up from the destroyed ground, the assassin laughs and replies that he simply detests the peace that rules the world today. He yells loudly that he finds tranquility in unbearable bore without blood splattering and piles of corpses for him to tear apart. Cold and indifferent, the Beastmaster just notes that every now and then, some irredeemable lunatics like this one pop up, adding that these minds were crushed by the daily slaughter of the Great World War. Addicted to the relentless massacre, many heroes snapped and fell straight into the black hole of crime and pure villainy. In today's world, these lunatics are the dirty monsters the government tries to sweep under the rug at all costs. Laughing like a complete psychopath, the criminal asks if the boy feels sorry for him for also being a war freak. Without saying a word, the hero's face becomes an empty, absolutely dark expression. Far away, the golden light of late afternoon illuminates the huge base of the Master Swordsman's Guild. Taking a sip of soju, the veteran archer admits that the meeting with his old friend was full of shocking surprises. Agreeing reluctantly, the swordsman questions the absurdity of the tiger's owner, still having the face of a young kid, also pointing out that his personality seemed almost too gentle for someone who used to wreak havoc in the war. Pensive, the archer drinks again and agrees that on the outside, his friend did seem harmless at their reunion. But right after, he warns in a dark tone that this supposed calm is just the tip of the iceberg and not the whole truth. Seriously, the bow veteran remembers that the Beastmaster has the worst temper and shortest fuse on the entire planet. When he confronts criminals, this legend becomes the devil himself, with no mercy for anyone. Back in the dirty alley, the tamer creates a fist of concentrated aura, warning that he's about to relieve the bandits' boredom. Terrified, the swordsman confesses to the archer that facing that monster is worse than signing your own death certificate on the spot. In the dark alley, the MC closes the distance and buries his electric fist into the assassin's stomach in a lightning, fast blink of an eye. Blood splatters violently as the criminal leader's body sinks back into the thick stones of the destroyed asphalt. With his eyes rolling back, the villain feels all his bones scream from the brutal punch of the invincible god in the form of a kid. Mercilessly, magical energy crashes down from the sky and crushes what's left of the guy against the dust and broken ground. Bleeding from his nose and mouth, the bandit realizes the suicidal madness of messing with the most dangerous person in Seoul. A massive pillar of purple and white mana explodes, sending street debris flying in all directions in a deadly shockwave. Just then, the boy's fancy phone rings, showing an urgent video call on the illuminated screen in the darkness. Drunk on soju, the archer laughs with his friends, thinking it's hilarious to use the live camera to bother the missing tamer. Holding the device, the master points the lens at the disfigured face of the criminal on the ground and asks if the guild knows this piece of trash. Seeing the assassin leader's battered face, the swordsman spits out his soju, freaking out and yelling that's the bastard who stained his guild's name. Out of control, the Sword King demands to know the exact location so he can go beat the tar out of the renegade and end the shame himself. Pouring cold water on the swordsman's rage, the MC says he already dismantled the gang's entire hideout nearby. Smashing the bandit's head into the thick gravel, the master forces a confession that this is indeed the den of stolen goods. Moaning in pain and pure fear, the criminal says the entire group got beat up and robbed in return by someone known as the Phantom. Finding the name strange, the tamer realizes there's a rival in the area messing up the easy hunt he had planned for the day. Nodding with his bloodied head, the ex-assassin explains that this master thief only robs the rich and leaves a bizarre black card with a phantom on the scene. Scowling at the talkative criminal, the Beastmaster agrees to let the loser go if he promises to disappear. In an incredibly fast and unannounced move, the hero's hand plunges straight into the bandit leader's stomach. Absurd screams cut through the night as the guy feels all the mana in his core turn to dust in that same cruel instant. Withdrawing his arm coldly, the tamer states that he broke his mana hole for good, so his life of fighting is over. Crying left in the trash, the assassin screams that without powers, his life as a civilian will be a hell worse than the end. Without looking back, the boy tells him to be thankful he's still breathing, and to burn this lesson into his rotten soul if he wants to stay alive. Turning the corner and leaving the trash behind, the MC reflects on how much life and blood was spent to maintain a peace as fragile and corrupt as this. Taking a deep breath, the master asks the little fox not to think that everyone who suffered in the war is rotten inside. With his mood finally improving, he focuses on getting home quickly and preparing the biggest magical food feast ever seen. Later, heavy snow covers the isolated mountain where the simple, warm cabin awaits the return of its tough owner. Right at the cabin's entrance, the baby fox screams desperately, letting out sharp, panicked yelps at the sight of the giant bathtub. Gripping the edges firmly and using absurd strength, she digs in her claws and refuses to get into the pool of water under any circumstances. Without wasting time, the tamer lifts the screaming beast into the air and jumps with her straight into the tub with a belly flop. Complaining about the barks, the hero pets her and gives her a forced bath while saying cleanliness is the main house rule for pets. With a mischievous grin, the master informs the poor thing that this is definitely not an ordinary bath to wash off street mud. Showing the extremely rare fruit from the world tree bought from the dwarf, he tosses the greenish delicacy into the boiling, magical waters. An ethereal glow immediately emanates from the master's fingertips, melting the botanical gem for the cub's perfect bath. Smelling the sweet aroma that rises, the fox relaxes her furry little body, noticing the bath temperature is incredibly gentle. Slowly, the little creature settles into the pleasant water as the powerful potion begins to work through her wet fur. Surrendering to the warm paradise, the beast lets out a little noise of pure joy and closes her eyes in absolute relaxation of her tired body. Satisfied with the adorable scene, the owner jokes that it was tremendous luck the skittish little one ended up liking the expensive spay. Washing her back, the veteran explains that ancient warriors would crush milligrams of this magical peel to gain raw power during insane battles. Just a tiny piece was enough to close wounds, toughen the wolves' hides, and drastically improve mana on the open battlefield in the apocalypse. Knowing this, he proudly says the lucky little fox is soaking up the absurd effect of the entire mythical fruit through her pores without any effort. Glowing brighter than ever, the cub rapidly absorbs the luxurious magical sap, transforming her newborn body into a powerful reactor of pure strength. Startled by the speed, the MC notices the nutrient. Rich green water dries up instantly, disappearing into her small, furry skin. Dumbfounded, the master silently watches the animal suck up the entire potency of an immeasurably valuable item with extreme ease in seconds. Full of herself, the baby fox shakes her clean, magical fur, scattering tiny stars of purified mana all around the fragrant bathroom. Analyzing the scene, the tamer realizes that normally the evolution would end with simple absorption from the bath, without any absurd light show like this. A sharp beep cuts through the silence of his mind, bringing a surprise update from his own internal system at high speed on his eye's display. Confirming the young man's suspicions, the cute pet officially acquires the incredible Guardian of Nature ability for her brand new resume right on time. Laughing hard, the master discovers the little one is 15 times more efficient at swallowing natural magic, proving she really isn't normal. Lifting the glowing cub with both hands, the hero declares the divine cleansing is complete, and now the sacred time for food truly begins. Outside the cabin, the snowstorm rages across the mountain with extreme violence, threatening to rip the roof off the cold, isolated place. Through the small, frost-covered window, you can see the owner and his pet in the warm kitchen, enjoying their sacred late afternoon break with the entire team from the nearby dungeon orchard. Holding a heavy black pot, the master asks if the orchard crew spent days freezing their butts off just to harvest the weird little plants for the feast. Laughing, he lifts the cast iron cauldron with one hand, getting everything ready to cook while the little monsters and fairies toss the smelly vegetables into the roaring fire. Commanding the stove, the fairy princess orders the heavy seeds into the giant pot, warning that everything is expensive but too tough to open without divine strength. Confused, the veteran checks the ingredients, noticing magical seeds impenetrable by normal fire, and asks how he's supposed to make a soup with them if the shells are like indestructible enchanted stone. Pulling out the seeds, he discovers that a regular little stove would never be able to cook that treasure, requiring much more than the common magic flame he always uses on the counter for his coffee. Desperate, the fairy yells that throwing in so many mana stones won't create fire for cooking, but a giant explosion. Ignoring the warning, the hero mercilessly tosses the rare gems straight into the flames. With a confident smile on his face, our MC doesn't even blink at the imminent danger. Soon the magical stones begin to crack, releasing a brutal green energy. Utterly terrified, the princess screams that everything is going to explode as a massive column of fire engulfs the stove. The Beastmaster quickly uses his bare hands to tame the out-of-control flames. Without breaking a sweat, he masters the magical fire and begins to cook in the giant pot with expertise. Frying the heavy ingredients, the boy makes the food sizzle in the towering flames. Awestruck, the little fairy watches, murmuring how terrifying it is for someone to control flames of that level with such ease. Roasting everything to the limit, the items finally turn into a fine, shiny powder. The cook immediately calls for his assistant, demanding the next plant in the recipe. With great force, he squeezes the magical leaf, extracting all the powerful juice with his bare hand. He then drips the green liquid onto the powder, mixing everything and forming a perfect duff. Carefully, the veteran shapes the mixture, creating small golden balls in the palm of his hand. Satisfied, he finishes the celestial dumplings, which glow intensely in the hot pan. Extending his hand, the hero asks if the fairy wants a taste, but she immediately refuses, afraid of exploding from so much energy. Terrified, the princess remembers this food wasn't made for them and points to the real target. Drooling uncontrollably, the little fox is at the absolute limit of her hunger. With her large blue eyes shining, the cute pet cries, asking if that feast is all for her. In a swift move, he tosses the food into the air, warning that the effects are heavy, so she'll only eat one for now. In a single bite, the beast swallows the divine dumpling straight from the air without even chewing. Suddenly paralyzed, the baby fox feels the absurd power hit her system instantly. A powerful bluish aura begins to leak from the pet's furry little body. Screaming with pure joy, the cub glows intensely as the system reveals her bizarre mythical lineage stats. Shocked by the scene, the fairies notice the living legend has nearly doubled in size in the blink of an eye. Freezing shockwaves and pure magic destroy the ground around the tiny creature. Calm and observant, the master closely follows his pet's sinister evolution. Full of new energy, the fox dashes through the snow at a blinding speed. Through the holographic screen, the hero confirms the medicine's absorption was perfect, and her growth already surpasses that of his old partner. Pensive, the boy blames himself, imagining if he had done this for his old friend, confessing that in the past, he knew nothing. Shadows of the war show the two of them running and fighting blindly, without him being able to feed or give the poor thing a rest. Regretfully, he remembers the difficult nights and reveals that he studied monsters in depth precisely because of the guilt he felt after her passing. Back in the present, the cub flies through the snow, screaming with pure happiness. With a loving gaze, the master swears he will give this new generation everything he couldn't give in the past. Landing with style, the furry pet kicks up white dust on the ground. The moment he pulls the creature into his lap, the boy nearly falls backward, feeling that the creature has gotten much heavier. Unbalanced by the brutal impact, the two end up rolling together in the soft snow. Laughing freely, the tamer lifts the beast to the sky, vowing to make her the strongest and ensure a life of pure luxury. Confused, the little fox makes a cute noise, and the hero soon realizes she's looking for the other pet to show off her new size. Excited by the idea, the MC suggests they go find the saber-toothed tiger together right now. At that, his memory travels back in time, cutting to a frozen and unforgiving landscape from 16 years ago. There, in the middle of the storm, a small white tiger cub shivered, huddled up, almost freezing to its end. Suddenly, a red, focused eye appears, observing the defenseless furball. Protected by heavy clothing, the old beast master stares at the creature, asking what it was doing there. After analyzing the feline, the old man deduces that the disaster species pest was abandoned by its pack for being too weak. Before leaving, the warrior tells the cub to catch up with its family quickly, because a military fence will soon block the area. Despite the cold, the stubborn little creature keeps walking on the hard snow, following the human's footsteps. Menacingly, the old man draws his lethal sword, telling the beast to get lost. Shouting, the veteran swears he'll slice the monster if it doesn't flee, but he's ignored by the cub, who just wags its little tail. In the middle of his scolding, the hero has a severe episode and coughs red blood straight onto the ice. Too weak to fight, he sheathes the heavy blade and pulls a piece of dried meat from his pocket. Extending his hand, he offers the humble snack, telling the beast to eat and try to survive. Focused on the meal, the cub doesn't even mind the weather, while the old man grumbles that life is tough for everyone. Grateful for the food, the feline licks the hero's wrinkled face, melting his heart of stone. To say goodbye to his new friend, the man says he has to go and tells the creature to take care of itself. Completely abandoned in the snow, the little tiger watches the figure walk away under the faint sunlight. From a distance, the veteran raises his hand in a final friendly wave. Determined not to lose his hero, the little monster runs with all its speed after its savior. Cutting through the storm, he follows the firm tracks left on the white ground. Thanks to the kind warrior's constant care, the saber-toothed tiger grew at an alarming rate. Years later, a colossal feline runs towards its owner, who is startled by the size of that giant furball. With a big smile, the old man finally decides to name the big monster Mungchi. Happy with the new name, the beast lets out a soft roar, accepting its new identity. Sitting in the snow, he confesses to his furry friend the bitter irony of raising a monster after losing his own family to them in the war. In the midst of his crisis, he tells how he wandered aimlessly until he contracted a fatal disease from the portals. With a heavy gaze, he reflects that even though he hated the beasts, he didn't have the heart to finish off that weak cub in the past. Attentively, the giant tiger stares into the sad eyes of its sick master. While petting the beast's head, the hero concludes that he identified with the cub's sad abandonment. Suddenly, the illness hits hard, and the veteran collapses face first into the snow, scaring his pet. Remembering the past, the tiger tears off, determined to hunt for food to save its owner, just as it was saved. Ripping through the frozen forest, the creature mentally promises to return as quickly as possible. Lying on the frozen ground, the old warrior just smiles weakly, watching his partner leave. A long time later, the monster returns, panting from its completely exhausting hunt. Letting out a loud bark, it spits out its catch in front of the spot where its master was lying. Completely desperate, the tiger realizes the man isn't responding and tries to wake him by pushing the unconscious body on the ice. Back on the mountain, the beast runs down desperately towards the human city. The old man's words echo, warning that going down meant certain doom and that the beast should stay away from people. Even aware of the mortal danger, the little monster doesn't back down a single inch. Because the image of its dying master speaks much louder in the cub's pure heart. Quickening its pace in the snow, the little tiger mentally vows that someone must help its savior. At the military base, the sirens blare instantly, announcing a terrible invasion. In absolute panic, the soldiers shout that an S-ranked disaster species has invaded the area. The troops quickly request heavy reinforcements and evacuation, thinking the beast's giant mother is nearby. With loud, cute barks, the little cub tries to signal that it doesn't want to fight and just needs medical help. Mercilessly, a sniper fires magical energy, hitting the unarmed little creature squarely. The military then continues the relentless bombardment, giving the monster no chance to defend itself. The brutal impact sends the white feline flying, tumbling across the hard snow. Covered in wounds, the beast gets up in tears, begging for help for its only human friend. Soon, a furious soldier raises a shock weapon, ready to slice the target and finish the job. Agile and determined, the little tiger dodges the mortal blow and charges forward, breaking through the human barrier by force. Cornered and injured, the feline mentally pleads for any kind of miracle or salvation. Just then, a mysterious man in a trench coat steps in front, ordering the troops to fall back and hold their fire. Panting, the little creature looks at the stranger, feeling a glimmer of hope shine through the chaos. Coldly, the young recruit notes that it's just a lone cub and takes charge himself, dismissing the veterans. The guard immediately agrees, backing away as the rookie approaches the battered and tired beast. Seriously, the young man asks if the creature needs urgent help, and tells it to lead the way to the source of the problem. Through the gentle magical connection, the little creature's body instantly recovers its stolen strength. Far away, the dying old man's heart beats slower and slower on the unforgiving bed of ice. Using green healing magic, the young hero stabilizes the old man, revealing that a lethal disease from another continent was consuming his chest. Smiling, the savior praises the tiger's courage, stating that the sick man was lucky to have a friend willing to give his life for him. At that exact moment, the pure energy flows, completely expelling the evil rooted in the sick veteran's body. Slowly, the old man opens his tired eyes and lets out a faint sigh of pure relief. Recognizing his furry partner, he whispers the name Mangchai with great effort and emotion. Overjoyed, the big monster jumps on his beloved owner, crying and barking loudly. Finally at peace and safe, the beast closes its eyes and rests, focused on the warmth of its beloved human's chest. Looking up at the sky again, the white beast accepts the natural cycle of life that follows years later. Around that same time in the past, the recruit hero waves from a distance with a smile, bidding farewell to the inseparable pair. With firm steps in the storm, the animal follows its destiny, always by the side of the old master of the mountains. Sad and lonely reality now shows the old man's photo on a simple wooden memorial. Free from its chains, the narrative confirms that the veteran passed away from old age 5 years after sending Mangchi to our boy. Back in the present, our MC reflects on this painful loss in front of the frozen grave. Every single year, the trio of beasts and master gather in the cold to clean and visit the grave of their deceased old friend. Icy raindrops begin to fall from the sky, wetting the cute face of the little white fox. With thick tears streaming down, the enormous tiger cries from pure longing, reliving the memories of its original creator. Petting the baby, the tamer affirms comfortingly that the grave will never be a lonely place with so much love around. Suddenly, a bizarre and gigantic insect cuts through the wind at high speed, catching the attention of the entire group at the cemetery. On high alert, the pair of monsters lock their gazes on the sky, tracking the sudden threat. With loud, flapping wings, a monstrous yellow and black wasp lands heavily in the soft snow. In droves, the terrifying swarm appears, flying through the storm, and the hero soon recognizes the nightmare as the so-called new species. Staring at the battle bee up close, he wonders in a serious tone if this flying pest is another unknown lethal mutation. Without wasting time, the boy activates his own dark magic eye to scan the insectoid pest's weakness. The system screen soon details that it's a high-rank battle wasp with blind obedience and brutal strength when acting in a group. Curious, the little fox tilts her head, focusing on one of the monsters, thinking it's a free toy that fell from the sky. In an extremely fast pounce, the mythical pet snatches the fat wasp right out of the air, grinding the prey with its sharp teeth. Intrigued, the hero questions out loud if the newborn baby identified the stinking demonic energy from a distance. The desperate insect twists its body in her mouth and prepares its poisonous stinger for a dirty counterattack. With maximum force, the bee drives the yellow needle right near the large blue eye of the small white beast. To the enemy's terror, the natural weapon simply crumbles against the cub's incredibly tough skin, and she doesn't even blink at the blow. In tiny fragments, the deadly stinger turns to useless dust, falling onto the mountain's frozen ground. Picking up the venom shards, the master concludes that the skin, armored by the bath from the world tree, would never yield to such a pathetic attack. From the glowing purple toxin, he quickly understands that the paralyzing venom justified the dangerous rank of that tiny pest. Facing the massive swarm flying in the background, the MC deduces that ignoring the infestation is not a safe option. With a snap of his fingers, he orders Mangchai to track and follow the giant insect's dirty trail. On the feline's furry back, the brutal pursuit begins, with the immediate relief of knowing there are no innocent villages near that nest. Arriving at the epicenter of the chaos, the flock of winged monsters is already devouring the mountain, revealing a destructive and absolutely insane appetite. Like a true biblical plague, the wasps chew through grass, trees, and rip out entire chunks of the mountain, leaving no leftovers. Faced with the skeletal carcasses of other monsters, the tamer realizes this omnivorous race will attack the humans in the city the second the forest is gone. Cold-blooded, the master decrees the complete and merciless extermination of the entire flock before tragedy strikes. Alert to the greater danger, the giant tiger lets out a low bark and points its snout toward the dark horizon. In the heavy sky, a massive, purplish portal pulses, revealing itself to be the true nest and origin of the cursed hive. From the red color of the energy, the hero smiles nostalgically, reminding his tiger friend that it's been 15 years since the last raid, class invasion they faced together. With a wild grin and huge teeth showing, the feline purrs, agreeing that today the duo is absurdly more OP and prepared. Without a second's hesitation, the trio leaps in a gigantic jump, tearing through the dimensional rift to invade the enemy's home with everything they've got. With claws out and fury in its glowing eyes, the ice monster crosses the dimension, thirsty for destruction and a good fight. Inside the dark dungeon, a dense cloud of insects forms a living barrier, desperate to protect the heart of the dungeon. The protagonist immediately unleashes the full, crushing weight of his lethal predatory instinct into the cave's stuffy air. Struck by the invisible killing pressure, the wasps retreat, frozen by pure terror and survival instinct. Around our group, the scene reveals a bizarre alien ecosystem full of glowing stones, taking over the abyssal hole. Holographic text from the system inform that these colossal dungeons house entire transplanted worlds, filled with extremely rare and coveted items. Though terrified by the presence of the human god, the suicidal flock advances again, and the master prepares his fists to begin the cowardly massacre. Through the system screen, the master notes that the guard monsters are brutal and come in a frightening swarm. Surprised by the new species, the boy notices the creatures are triple the size and have demonic energy. Piercing shrieks cut through the air as a giant bee shows its disgusting fangs. With a serene look, our little MC analyzes the flying pest without a hint of fear. The display quickly confirms the breed of the assassin wasps, listing an extremely high threat level. The boy soon confirms that these guardians are much worse than the weak bees from before. Next to his feline partner, he comments with a smile that they've finally found the dungeon's real security. In a rage, the cloud of insects throws itself at the trio to shred the unwanted invaders. The tamer immediately activates the magical sensory transfer, connecting his own mind with the tiger's. Under this absolute effect, the hero and the giant beast share 100% of their senses and deadly reflexes. Dashing like a white rocket, the feline tears across the cavern floor in a lethal charge. Heavy claws slice through the air, destroying entire rows of wasps in a single blink. Rocks and monsters fly far from the big monster's raw, descomunal paw swipe. Side by side, the boy also dishes out magic-infused punches, crushing the insects with raw force. Excited by the carnage, the little fox vibrates, letting out cute cheers in the middle of the war zone. Not wanting to be left out, the baby fox jumps right onto the face of one of the big wasps. With her little teeth sunk in with determination, she tries to devour the giant insect by force. Flapping its wings rapidly, the pest tries to shake off the stubborn pet's persistent bite. Laughing hard, the master warns that the dirty creature is still too big for her small mouth. The tiger lands stylishly on the hard ground, ready for the next imminent wave of enemies. Blasts of mystical energy rain down from the ceiling, annihilating another gigantic wave of insects. At that instant, the tamer narrows his eyes, feeling a different, dangerous vibration in the air. Through his perception, he realizes the horde is simply infinite and notes that just standing there fighting won't solve anything. Total focus on his instincts reveals a source of absurd dark power hidden in the depths of the cave. Determined to cut the evil at its root, the boy tells his partner he's going to check the end of the tunnel alone. In a precise leap, the MC launches himself from the monster's back, floating swiftly through the nest's heavy air. Focusing on physical strength, he advances like a lightning bolt, tearing through the path crowded with winged enemies. Drawing on pure raw magic, he invokes his deadly technique called Karabladi. In the palm of his hand, a gigantic blue slash parts the darkness in two, clearing the blocked route once and for all. Suddenly, the warrior stops his run, planting his foot, shocked by the sight he finds at the end. Before him rises a massive purple honeycomb that holds the core of all that dark aura. Without asking for permission, the hero smashes the rocky structure, entering the secret hideout with both feet. Inside, the shadows of the place reveal a mysterious figure sitting in the dark, exuding pure evil. Calmly, the tamer faces the figure, grumbling that the main threat has finally shown its face. Recognizing the fatal red eyes, the master declares he's face to face with a real demon. Furious, the figure in the shadows shouts, unable to believe that mere humans have invaded its sealed sanctuary. With an icy gaze, our MC just stares at the villain, calmly waiting for the next attack. Breaking into a cold sweat in a flash of terror, the demon starts muttering curses, realizing he's completely screwed. Confused by the sudden change in atmosphere, the hero raises an eyebrow, not understanding the scene at all. Stammering uncontrollably, the villain pleads to the heavens, asking if the human can understand his words. Pensive, the master finds the supposed brutal threat's fearful behavior extremely bizarre. To try and save his own skin, the demon summons a terrifying aura, telling the kid to shut up and listen. Full of posturing, he announces his name as Theo, claiming to be the former number 4 warrior in the Demon Kingdom's rankings. Red magic burns, tearing through reality as the man in the suit strikes an unbeatable boss pose. But shattering all expectations, he throws his hands in the air, yelling absolute surrender without lifting a finger to fight. Trembling like a leaf, the silver-haired young man confesses he hates fighting strong freaks like our hero. Dumbfounded, the warrior simply can't process the extreme level of cowardice from that mythological lord. Behind him, the little fox chews on a dead giant bee with the utmost peace of mind. With a heavy sigh, the master deactivates the lethal glow in his hand, accepting the forced truce. Mentally, he compares the crying coward to the bloodthirsty monsters of the war who attacked without thought or fear. Getting straight to the point, the boy points a finger, asking what exactly that ridiculous guy really is. Scratching his head awkwardly, the man in the suit replies that technically, he is indeed classified as a demon. Intrigued, the tamer questions how on earth a superior being from the dark realms came to live in that isolated hole. Whimpering, the villain recounts his shameful defeat in another world, and tells how he fled until he was swallowed by the formation of that portal. At that, the master points to a disgusting larva clinging to his body, asking why on earth he saved that ugly thing during his escape. The holographic display quickly confirms that the disgusting worm is actually the original queen of the entire swarm. Startled by the revelation, the MC questions if this fat pest is responsible for eating the mountain outside. Desperate to explain himself, the lord swears the queen is docile and only sent her daughters to gather information on the peaceful surface. Glittering magic envelopes the insect as the demon transforms the pet into a harmless stone fossil. Faced with the sudden sorcery, the boy's eyes widen, amazed by the enemy's sinister utility. Smiling, the lord explains that in stone form, the bee lives in a trance, needing no food and hurting no one. Attracted by the pure mana stone, the baby fox leaps with monstrous hunger towards the insect statue. In a total panic, the silver-haired man tries to push the little beast away, yelling that he cares for the larva like a daughter. In a perfect pounce, the divine pet latches onto the villain's hand, sucking the dark mana with a wonderful taste. Screaming in pain, the demon freaks out, unable to understand how an earth animal can swallow underworld energy and be fine. In a cold analysis, the master realizes that this coward is a true goldmine for tracking threats from the shadow realm. The villain's desperate cries for mercy break the heavy silence of the secret cave. However, the memories of the former bloodthirsty demon king from the Great War don't let the MC lower his guard for a second. Concentrating deadly purple rays in his hand, the hero decides to act before the supposed truce ends in tragedy. In a brutal, swift strike, he thrusts his charged hand straight into the lord's chest, who nearly faints from shock. Dryly, the tamer says that to accept his surrender, he needs to install a security device in the enemy's body. As the rays burn the target, the master declares the complete sealing of the evil creature's mana core. The demon falls backward, completely unconscious, hitting his back on the ground without a drop of power left. Confused upon waking up sprawled on the stone, he can't process the absurd speed of his defeat. Spitting in disgust, the little fox realizes the energy has lost its flavor, while the villain discovers, devastated, that his dark magic is gone for good. Cold and direct, our MC tells the demon lord to follow him in absolute silence, if he doesn't want to meet his end right there. Breaking into a cold sweat, the silver-haired man gulps and agrees, mentally questioning if all humans have this bizarre level of mana. Outside the black portal, a gigantic crowd of guilds has already gathered. Motivated by pure greed, the mercenaries want the absurd resources of this raid-class dungeon. To this crowd, the black hole no longer represents a danger, but a true treasure chest. As a tiebreaker, the hunters decided to settle everything in a brawl tournament right there in the snow. By brute force, the guild that brings the most OP fighter gets priority for the loot. Even the country's largest organizations went all out and hired famous big shots for the violent dispute. In a crushing blow, an arrogant blonde knocks his opponent down with extreme ease, kicking up snow. With a smug smile on his face, the man in the suit goes by the codename King. Being an SS rank hunter and in the world's top 10, the guy takes a break to snap a selfie in the middle of the fight. From his phone screen, It's very clear the fighter is just an influencer addicted to getting attention online. Stepping on his defeated opponent's head, the blonde taunts, saying his rival is as pathetic as ever. Annoyed, the guy crushed on the ground warns that the 5 seconds of tolerance are over, and so is his patience. Laughing at the danger, the so-called influencer mocks the threat and prepares another lethal blow to finish the job. Without wasting time, the bearded giant jumps on the cocky little blonde. The man in the suit easily blocks the heavy attack with a smirk plastered on his face. Suddenly, the red portal flickers, and 2 mysterious silhouettes emerge straight from the darkness. With his hand outstretched, the Beast Master crosses the dimensional rift, followed by his fearful partner. Confused by the commotion outside, the MC analyzes the battlefield up close. Thrown by the force of the impact, the defeated giant flies far through the cold air. Blood splatters violently as the fighter's body tumbles and lands sprawled right at our hero's feet. Startled, the entire crowd freezes the fight instantly to stare at the newly arrived mysterious invaders. Paying no mind to the curious stares, the duo simply ignores the heavy atmosphere around them. Murmurs spread through the camp, noting that the portal's demonic energy completely vanished after this visit. Stammering, one of the hunters points his finger, asking if the guys really came out of the dungeon alive. Calmly, the warrior replies yes and asks if the guys in suits are blind. Shocked by the audacity, the mercenaries' eyes widen, and they curse indignantly at the unknown man's petulance. With a forced laugh, the blonde influencer demands respect, asking who the hell the kid thinks he is. Fuming at the interruption, the king loses his composure and yells furiously at the boy's lack of manners. Exploding with wind magic, the hunter advances like a hurricane towards the duo. Desperate, the silver-haired man asks if the human is just going to let that crazy man in a suit take them out for free. Casting a death glare, the boy focuses his hunter's vision on the imminent threat coming straight at him. Cutting through the snow and wind, the enemy approaches, exuding an unbearable arrogance. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the big shot demands to know who gave them permission to walk through the portal like they own the place. Indifferently, the hero questions if he really needs a pass, and the blonde shouts back that obviously, he does. Angrily, the mercenary explains that the guilds are killing each other there precisely to win priority to loot the nest. A recruit quickly scans the tamer and discovers 0 mana, classifying the legend as a useless civilian. Full of himself, the king tells the supposed failure to bow his head and stay out of the elite hunter's business. Whispering in the master's ear, the demon lord asks if it's time to lay the smackdown on the annoying guy. Calm as water, the MC coldly replies that he doesn't plan on committing any bloody murders today. With a macabre smile on his face, the boy repeats the phrase, promising that the enemy will keep breathing. Trembling from head to toe, his dark partner senses the killing aura and is certain the victim is about to be destroyed. Maintaining his peaceful facade, the living legend assures once more that the arrogant fellow is in no mortal danger. Completely oblivious to his own violent end, the hunter continues to rant and threaten the 2 heroes in the snow. With no sense of danger, the influencer tells the trash kid to get out of the camp immediately. Narrowing his eyes, the veteran focuses on his opponent with a completely hidden, brutal intent. Suddenly, a figure crosses the air, shouting the legendary name Choi Kang, who in absolute shock. Landing stylishly and kicking up magical dust, the newcomer startles the audience with his presence. Formally introducing himself, he reveals he is Lee Huck, the official master of the gigantic White Knight Guild. Smiling, the tamer recognizes his old swordsman friend's disciple and remembers the threats in the group chat. Furious at being completely ignored, the influencer freaks out, demanding attention and bragging about his feudal followers. Reflecting for a moment, the blonde finds the hero's name very familiar and tries to recall it. His eyes widening, he finally connects the dots, asking if the peaceful kid is the Beast King. Maintaining a mysterious silence, our little MC just gives an incredibly creepy angelic smile. Observing that calm face, the White Knight leader's expression twists into a paralyzing panic. Painful memories of his training surface, along with the old warning that the tamer's smile was the worst possible sign. According to the old guard, that saintly face meant the warrior was about to slaughter his victim without a shred of mercy. Breaking into a cold sweat, the swordsman gulps, foreseeing the brutal disaster about to stain the snow red. In total denial, the blonde analyzes the boy, finding it ridiculous that a pathetic guy with no mana could be the greatest legend in history. Blended by fame, the influencer concludes that taking down the master right there will make him the #1 hero on the planet. Seeing the enemy wind up for a strike, the boy just ironically thanks the opponent for his suicidal attitude. Concentrating, cutting wind in his clenched fist, the hunter yells that the old hero should be grateful for his own defeat. With a devastating punch, the blonde charges forward, swearing he will dominate the hunter rankings. With a maniacal smile, the villain celebrates, thinking he landed the first lethal blow on the war legend's face. To the man in the suit's despair, the punch hits empty air, and he doesn't understand how the target simply evaporated. Grabbing the enemy's fancy tie from behind, the MC grabs the bully and invites him into the portal. With extreme force, the hero throws the influencer into the black abyss, and his screams of terror echo in the air. Holding the kid by the neck in the other dimension, the master scoffs, telling the blonde to clean the dungeon since he wanted priority. Without a shred of pity, the tamer brutally hurls the mercenary's body against the bottom of the dark dungeon. A deafening boom shatters the cave's rocks as the target plummets like a meteor onto the rough ground. Purple smoke and shattered stones fly everywhere from the crushing impact of that bizarre free fall. Lying on his back in the dirt, the injured hunter groans in pain, pleading for it to be just a nightmare. Panting and with his bones trembling, he refuses the humiliation of losing in just 2 seconds of fighting. Casting a dark look from above, our little MC warns that he hates settling things with his fists, but decided to break the rule today. In an agile leap, our hero already prepares his next brutal move against his rival. Immediately, blades of pure blue energy slice through the space around the kid, propelling his body forward. In the blink of an eye, the master lands a direct hit on the arrogant blonde's face. Furious at the punch, the influencer screams that this is the era dominated by the new generation of awakened. With his hand clamped on the enemy's head, the veteran decrees that in a world ruled by strength, humility must be the #1 rule. Right after, the living legend slams the mercenary into the snowy ground with crushing, absolute violence. Terrified by the scene, the spectators break into a cold sweat, realizing the MC has no qualms about destroying cocky big shots. Stunned by the ease of the beatdown, the demon lord mutters that his own cowardly surrender was the most genius move of his life. All beaten up in the snow, the ex-bully looks up at the starry sky, trying to process the speed of his defeat. Resting on his knees, our boy criticizes his rival's failed attacks and asks who taught him that garbage technique. Spitting blood, the defeated man boasts that he reached the coveted S rank based solely on pure, innate talent. Cold and direct, the tamer cuts the bull, warning that natural talent doesn't make anyone an invincible god on earth. He adds a warning that fighting so carelessly on a real battlefield results in a quick and ugly end. As it finally sinks in, the mercenary gulps, realizing he's always lived in a ridiculous power bubble. To finish the humiliation session, the warrior points his phone's camera right at the victim's injured face on the ice. With agile fingers, the hero fills the post with mocking hashtags and throws the photo of the beatdown straight onto the internet. Concluding that the violent method worked perfectly, the master ignores the blonde's whimpers, who is still begging for attention online. Suddenly, the monstrous dimensional rift shatters, breaking like fragile glass in the middle of the mercenary camp. All over the internet, rumors about the mysterious cleansing of the abyss and the influencer's disappearance begin to boil with full force. Far from the urban mess, the scene cuts back to the relentless cold and tranquility of the mountain base. Fascinated by the human world's nature, the infernal lord tries to grab the snow, shouting in wonder at the white flakes. Enjoying a hot drink, the warrior pressures the silver-haired man to explain the humiliation he suffered at the hands of the rival lord, Baal. Trembling with pure rage, the ex-villain reports that his lands in the beyond turned into a chaotic dungeon zone in a matter of days. Lost in his own thoughts, the boy finds this instant fusion between completely different dimensions bizarre. Serious and calculating, the veteran remembers out loud that humanity has completed exactly 5 decades since ground zero of the apocalypse. At this very moment, the new physical link with the demonic kingdom raises flags of a possible new cycle of pure global nightmare. Focused on collecting useful data, the tamer interrogates his crying ally about his true power limit in the infernal lands. Full of posturing, the failed villain flaunts his old and glorious title as the great fourth monarch of the entire legion of evil. By our hero's quick calculations, this revelation proves that the monsters at the top of the dark hierarchy carry absurd strength. With a sadistic little smile, the silver-haired partner requests the immediate release of his core to demonstrate in practice the talents he brags so much about. Trembling with pure nervousness, the lord holds his breath, thinking the bold request will be punished with more violence. Seeing no other way to assess the threat, the master raises his hand and gives in to his unusual partner's cheap blackmail. With a simple snap of his fingers, a mystical spark completely breaks the magical chain that bound the show-off demon. In that same fraction of a second, the silver-haired man lets out a sinister laugh as a true purple storm engulfs his entire body. Intoxicated by the massive return of his own power, he aggressively demands that the human watch his primary lethal virtue from the front row. Cold as the mountain winter, the MC concentrates glowing mana in his fingers to slice the clown up if he decides to try any funny business or betrayal. Unexpectedly, the villain kicks the ground, shooting beams of darkness into the frozen soil of the property. Commanding the forces lost in the abyss, he recites words of death, forcing the deceased to obey his cursed call. Decapitated monsters of pure bone sprout from the icy ground, forming a terrifying tactical squad to the horror of those present. Absolutely astonished, our hero discovers firsthand that the hopeless coward is part of the dangerous elite of dark necromancers.